Recently, while working on my art channel that you're currently watching, I went back all the way to my oldest video and realized it's been around 5 years since I originally drew my Mimikyu, which was the original speed paint that I had on my channel. I've been kind of in a creative rut lately. It's been hard for me to understand what direction I want to go in with what I've been doing and my art. So I decided that in an attempt to show myself how far I've come, that I am going to completely redraw it. Originally, I had drawn Mimikyu as a gift for one of my childhood elementary friends that unfortunately I'm no longer in contact with. While I didn't have a lot of experience drawing Pikachu-like characters, I was still pretty proud with my ability to digitally paint at the time. The program that I originally used for this piece was Metabang Paint Pro, and I personally don't use that program anymore just because of how clunky it is. It takes up a lot of RAM, and I have a really old computer, so that hasn't really been, working out for me very well. Instead, I like to use its lighter and more agile cousin, which is Fire Alpaca. While originally doing the sketch, which of course I did traditionally because I don't really like to sketch digitally as much, I found myself looking towards the weird shape that the original body was, and referencing a lot of photos that I saw on the internet, I realized that the Mimikyu that I drew was very tall, lanky, and really did take more of the horror aspect rather than kind of this cute little cuddly monster that just wants to be loved like a Pikachu. I did directly eyedrop all of the colors from the original Mimikyu official art that I found through the Pokemon wiki at the time. But this time I didn't eyedrop pull any colors and decided to just go on a whim and figure it out as I went. Normally I don't do this. I typically find myself liking to use the eyedropper tool, but I feel like I've been relying on it too much to the point where I can't even pull my own colors and decide what I want to draw with. Instead of doing a lineless painting, I decided that I wanted to have line art for this, just because line art has just become a really big piece of my art, or really my art style in general. It's the way that I'm able to contain all of my colors and then decide the movement and the overall shape of the character without having to redo things too many times. Instead of going for a smooth, normal brush, I decided that I wanted to go with a fuzzy brush just because I think that Mimikyu is actually very cute. Originally, when drawing this, I wasn't a really big fan of Mimikyu, and I was really disappointed with the release of Alola, the 7th generation of Pokemon. I was really hoping that we would eventually get a Sinnoh release, or a Sinnoh remake in this case, and oh boy, am I disappointed with it. I could go on for hours about how disappointed I am with Pokemon BDSP, especially with the terrible graphics and lackluster gameplay overall. But that's for another channel that I like to rant about stuff on and talk about things, so I won't be putting that here. Overall, my love for Mimikyu has continued to grow, especially with the cute little weird nubby feet at the bottom of the Pikachu costume. Especially while drawing the tail, I realized that there's kind of like a little spiral thing on the end of it, which makes me think that that's actually a stick. Of course, I personally wouldn't know, and I never really watched the Alola anime to full fruition, especially when I do know that there's a clip of Jessie who has a Mimikyu in the anime from Team Rocket, and how she fixes Mimikyu's cute little costume. So I don't really know if that's supposed to be a stick or something, because from what I remember, I think it's just cloth. In the end, I decided to go with a green offset color, just because I thought, like, I kind of went after the horror aspect in a little way with, like, just having, like, the weird little green slime undertones and then having, like, a cute little, like, pink soft overlay just to show and kind of contrast between, like, Mimikyu's dark side with how it wants to be loved by trainers and people overall, and also that it is a ghost type in the end and not anything really electric. I really thought that having a Pikachu mimic that wasn't an electric type was actually very nice. And I personally do not remember what the Sword and Shield Pikachu mimic is, because I loathe Sword and Shield and I haven't watched it or, you know, played it or done anything with it other than watch a few episodes of Pokemon Journeys with my partner. So I have no idea what they did in the future, but I'm sure that they probably, you know, took a lot of inspiration from Mimikyu and how popular it was. Overall, this was a really fun drawing to make, just because I could see the differences in my style and just see how my characters went from rigid and almost... I think, honestly, I was probably a bit inspired by like Tim Burton and all of the little horror genre artworks and artists that are out there for the original one. But for this one, I kind of just threw that all out the window and decided, hey, now we're gonna make Mimikyu be this tiny little cute chibi monster that just wants to be loved and just wants attention. I do still play Pokemon Showdown, and I find myself playing alongside of Mimikyu quite a few times, since I normally play random battles, since I'm not the most competitive person. But I really do enjoy Mimikyu's ability Disguise, where it allows itself, in most cases, to avoid the first hit. For example, if it's like a contact move or if it's, you know, a special move, but it unfortunately isn't able to fight against any status moves from what I know. I also do like its sword stance ability, and normally it carries either like Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, and then also I think Play Rough. But again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I really like the typing, the fact that it's fairy. It includes that secondary typing of fairy just so that it has some interesting resistances to dark types. I just think it's great. I don't know. I'm not a big competitive Pokemon person. That's all I really had to say this time. I did want to give a few updates that I am turning 20 soon, so I guess I'm an old person now. I have been working on some maps, also known as multiple animator parts. At this time, I've only been taking one part at a time just because I feel extremely overwhelmed when I have multiple parts and multiple deadlines, and it's really, really hard to animate and, you know, finish stuff very quickly when you also have, like, other stuff that you have to do in real life. But in the end, I've found myself using art as a coping mechanism and also just something that I enjoy to do in my spare time. It's been very therapeutic, and it's been helping me a lot with my anxiety and other, you know, other bits of life. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I really feel like I did a lot better this time than I did last time, but maybe that's just because I'm actually proud with how the Mimikyu came out, and I really enjoy how soft and squishy it looks. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.